During Christmas, let's go to a high-end steak restaurant as a family. You're an outsider, so stay home and eat grass or something. My mother-in-law quickly changes from a Christ-like figure to a demon. My mother-in-law is quite the hot and cold type, but it's okay, since she kindly suggested I eat grass. I'll go along with it. Maybe then she'll like me even more than she does now. I'm looking forward to it. My name is Nancy. I'm 38, and I'm often described as absent-minded without realizing it. People also ask me if I'm awake a lot. My eyes are open, though, but lately I've started thinking, well, maybe both are true. This is a story from when I was still in my 20s. I decided to marry a guy named Ivan. His far-fetched lines of "I want to be with you forever" and "I want you by my side" just didn't cut it for me, and I went through with his proposals 3 times. The final proposal was "Please marry me." He should have just said that from the start. With the marriage settled, it was time to meet each other's parents. I headed to his parents' house, feeling nervous the whole way.
Oh my, and you are? Let's see, Mary?
Mom, it's Nancy.
Opening her mouth, my mother-in-law mistakenly called me by the wrong name.
I'm sorry about that. It's just that Ivan's previous girlfriend was such a nice girl, I got confused.
Huh?
You don't need to say stuff like that.
With a smile, my mother-in-law hints at the existence of his ex-girlfriend while my husband panics. I was the only one dumbfounded, as my father-in-law remained silent.
I'm sorry, Nancy, for making you feel uncomfortable.
No, it's okay. I'm not bothered by it. Your ex-girlfriend seems like a nice person.
Yeah.
My husband seemed like he wanted to confirm if I was genuinely not upset with his reaction. If it were still ongoing with his ex, that would be a different story. But just a name mix-up, it's not a big deal, right? More than that, I was worried about something else. Despite being still relatively young, could my mother-in-law be showing early signs of dementia? Afterward, my mother-in-law kept calling me by his ex's name, and each time my husband would explode in anger. In my mind, my mother-in-law's cognitive decline seemed to be becoming more certain. I hope she lives a long and healthy life. And so I watched over my mother-in-law like a saint, even at my own expense. Furthermore, my mother-in-law.
As a bride who has been allowed into our home, you should be grateful to us for permitting this marriage. Can a girl who seems so weak-minded like you support my son?
Being pressured in various ways like that every time my husband could respond.
Don't talk like you're in those old-fashioned dramatic mother-in-law movies.
He would shout at her and apologize to me. As for me, I get more excited thinking, oh, this is like a drama between a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. Am I being stupid? What's wrong with that? Peace is nice. Although the marriage was accepted, just before the wedding my mother-in-law said,
"If you two won't live with us, then I won't approve of the marriage."
She started saying things like that. According to my husband, he's the apple of his parents' eye, and my mother-in-law seems unable to let him go. So it seems my mother-in-law can't tolerate me stealing her son away, and she's trying various tactics to break off the engagement. My husband has been directly told several times to call off the marriage, and there have been times after greeting me when my mother-in-law sent photos of my husband with his ex-girlfriend to me.
"It's like they were made for each other,"
she said, going as far as to call on the phone just to say that. I kept quiet about it because I was afraid my parents would oppose the marriage if they found out. However, I would always inform my husband, and each time he would lecture his mother. My husband explicitly stated that this was harassment. I was starting to feel worn out by all of this, but because I loved my husband, I had no intention of calling off the marriage. My husband told me that the harassment would get worse if I moved in with her, and even as someone absent-minded, I couldn't imagine that. My father-in-law wasn't someone who would cause trouble, so the issue was solely with my mother-in-law. Even if something happened, my husband would surely help me. I believed that everything would work out somehow. With that faith, I decided to move in with my in-laws. A few days after moving in, something happened one day.
Nancy, I'm sorry.
With that oddly sweet voice, my mother-in-law came rushing over. That day, my husband was at work, and my father-in-law was out with an old friend. "What's wrong, Mom?"
The laundry.
Saying so, my mother-in-law pointed to the backyard. Suddenly, I noticed that the laundry I had hung out was lying on the ground, covered in mud, with a clothesline pole.
It's such nice weather, and I got dizzy from the heat. I bumped into it, and it ended up like this.
Though her voice sounded like she was crying, my mother-in-law's eyes were dry as a bone. I was immediately concerned for my mother-in-law. Seeing her scoff at my suggestion that she take a break because she might have heat stroke, I finally realized it was deliberate harassment. Every time my mother-in-law and I were alone, she would repeat such things. She broke my glasses by accidentally stepping on them, just to know it happened 3 times. Another time, she used a toothbrush, which I had unknowingly left on the stand, to clean the sliminess from the drain, claiming,
"The bristles were spread out, so I thought it was for cleaning."
After several rounds of cleaning the drain, she confesses, making it particularly malicious. I ended up brushing my teeth. No wonder the bristles of the toothbrush, which was supposed to be new, quickly spread out. However, since I had just had my wisdom teeth removed, I convinced myself that my brushing technique had somehow become strange. I reported the clear harassment to my husband as well. My husband also complains to my mother-in-law, but she stubbornly insists.
It was just an accident, so there's nothing to be done about it.
At first, even I, with my naive and somewhat foolish nature, believed in the accident theory, but I've come to understand that it's not common to suffer from dizziness in the yard or step on my glasses so frequently. I finally get it. This is my mother-in-law's hobby. Gradually, my mother-in-law and husband started battling over the harassment towards me. Finally, even my father-in-law intervened, saying,
"You shouldn't bully your daughter-in-law,"
as he tried to calm my mother-in-law. Did that not sit well with her? One morning I found bee larvae packed tightly in my mouthwash for some reason. Bee larvae. Essentially maggots. I, who detest insects, screamed. My husband, worried, called for a family meeting right away. Until now, my mother-in-law had bullied me behind my husband's and father-in-law's backs, but from this point on, she boldly harassed me without worrying about their reactions. But I didn't want to lose so easily either. Bring on the bees or earthworms, or anything else for that matter. That's how I felt. The truth is, my husband had proposed the idea of kicking out my mother-in-law, but that option wasn't available to me. That was because of my own experiences. I remember when my mother, after being cheated on by my father, was kicked out of the house with me, a young child, without understanding why. Now she's remarried and living peacefully. At that time, I wondered how we, who had no home, would live from then on. That's what made me anxious. I didn't want to kick anyone out like that. Fortunately, my husband, and lately, even my father-in-law, has been somewhat supportive. I'm not alone by any means. I was determined to endure anything and everything until my mother-in-law accepted me as her daughter-in-law. That's what I thought. Then one day, with Christmas approaching, my mother-in-law, oddly cheerful, says something like this.
Living together means we don't have to travel back and forth, so do you feel sad and lonely about missing out on the Christmas spirit?
When asked if it's lonely, I honestly don't understand at all. Without the hassle of having to go back and forth, isn't it super easy and fun? Thinking like that, I just give a vague agreement with a yes, indeed.
Right? That's why I came up with it. Since we're all together, let's enjoy an event during the Christmas holidays.
Oh, that sounds great. When my mother-in-law suggested an event to me, I couldn't help but wonder if she might actually like me a little. It filled me with a faint hope.
During the Christmas holidays, we'll go to a high-end steak restaurant as a family. You're an outsider, so you can eat grass at home.
My mother-in-law's cheerful expression suddenly turned cold, like a different person halfway through. just when I thought I understood, it hit me. If it's grass, then it's okay to eat it. Maybe it's even better than bee larvae. Perhaps it's a luxury ingredient. Is this a Christmas event? Maybe my mother-in-law actually likes me a bit after all. I enthusiastically replied with a yes. It seemed like my mother-in-law was puzzled by my excitement, and even clicked her tongue, but maybe she's just the hot and cold type, and she probably feels embarrassed because I'm happy. We celebrated Christmas with no idea that there was a tremendous misunderstanding between myself and my mother-in-law. On the day we were supposed to go to the high-end sushi restaurant as a family, my mother-in-law said,
"Your father and Ivan are technically invited, but I haven't made a reservation for you, so absolutely do not come. Don't tell anyone about this,"
she emphasized. It seems that my husband's shift is scheduled all night that day, so he's heading straight to the restaurant from work. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are going from their shopping destination to the steakhouse, and according to her plan, I'm supposed to do housework first, and then meet them at the restaurant. Since everyone is meeting there, it shouldn't be a problem if I'm not there, as long as my mother-in-law comes up with some excuse. I guess that's the idea. While I'm a little envious of the fancy steak, there's grass on this side too. Maybe my mother-in-law also wants to have a meal with just the family once in a while. Thinking that way, I followed my mother-in-law's instructions and stayed home. At the time when everyone should be eating steak, suddenly my husband returned home.
"Nancy, why didn't you tell me you were being bullied? I was so surprised because you weren't there."
Huh? I stood there dumbfounded at my husband's pale face. Perhaps he thought I was alone at home crying. Even my husband was taken aback when he saw my carefree expression. Then my mother-in-law appeared from behind my husband.
"Really, Nancy, you're so inconsiderate. We had such good steak. Why would you suddenly want to leave?"
She appeared outraged. At that moment, I thought my mother-in-law's face was turning serious, but then it turned pale, and her mouth hung open.
"Nancy, what are you eating?"
What? It's just grass. You told me to eat grass, so I made a salad with the herbs from over there."
"Those aren't for my potted plants."
"Oh, I see. Since they were so well taken care of, they were indeed delicious. I'm delighted to think that you were raising them for me to eat. Thank you for the meal." As my enraged mother-in-law glared at me, I lowered my head, while my husband burst into laughter. Even my usually serious father-in-law was laughing. I wonder what I did wrong. Oh well, it's fine.
"Wait, Nancy, what about that cactus over there? It's completely gone. What happened to it?"
Oh, it was delicious. It was such a fine specimen of a barrel cactus that I made soup, steak, and various other dishes with it. As I proudly showed off the lineup on the dining table, my mother-in-law stood there speechless. My husband seemed to be laughing so much that he was having trouble breathing, and my father-in-law was desperately trying to stifle his laughter. Did you know that cacti are good for preventing wrinkles and age spots? Mom, you always use skincare products that claim to prevent wrinkles and age spots, right? Is that also made from cactus juice? Oh, and it's supposed to reduce swelling too, right? Remember when I mentioned my swollen ankles the other day? You remembered, didn't you? I'm glad. Feeling as if I had been acknowledged by my mother-in-law, I happily expressed my gratitude for the benefits of the cactus and to my mother-in-law for providing it. However, my mother-in-law didn't even crack a smile. In fact, she seemed so lifeless, it was almost like she was fading away. I wonder why. My husband is laughing so hard, he looks like a red-boiled octopus.
That cactus was a gift from my pottery class teacher. It was his first gift to me. How could you do this to me?"
Huh? Ivan and my father-in-law froze, wearing puzzled expressions at my mother-in-law's words. In that moment, she inadvertently covered her mouth.
"Wasn't your pottery class teacher a man?" And a pretty young one at that,
Ivan remarked.
Hasn't she been wearing a lot of flashy clothes lately?
My father-in-law also gave my mother-in-law a stern look. Well, let's see. But my mother-in-law's gaze seemed to wander aimlessly.
That's not it. It's not some scandalous affair. It's just that, well, being guided from behind by someone young and handsome makes your heart race, doesn't it?
For a moment, my mother-in-law looked completely girlish, causing both men to frown deeply in disapproval.
Huh? Mother, are you seriously falling for a guy my age? Are you guys close enough to exchange gifts?
My husband's words made my mother-in-law vigorously shake her head.
Were you making cookies the other day to give to him?
At my father-in-law's words, my mother-in-law visibly flinched. She forced a smile with very little conviction. It seemed she couldn't even make excuses anymore in the face of her suddenly exposed secret. My husband in a detached tone.
I really don't want to hear about my mom's love life. Ugh, it's gross.
He raised his voice. My mother-in-law blushed crimson, tears welling up in embarrassment as she glared at me.
Hey, if Nancy hadn't eaten the cactus, none of this would have happened. It's your fault. You no good wife.
She grabbed my collar while yelling. What did you say? But I did eat the cactus like you told me to. Don't blame me for this. I don't understand what I did wrong. This was actually the first time I had stood up to my mother-in-law's abuse. I glared at her with all the anger I had. But my husband and father-in-law were once again rolling with laughter.
Seriously, Nancy, she's just teasing you. She didn't mean for you to actually eat cactus.
Huh? My husband's observation left me dumbfounded, and my mother-in-law's expression turned to one of utter despair.
It's been a while since I've laughed like this. You're no match for Nancy. I'll forgive you for getting infatuated with a younger guy, but as I've said many times, stop the harassment against Nancy. You're just embarrassing yourself, being immature.
After being reprimanded by my father-in-law, my mother-in-law clenched her teeth, tightly gripped her fists, and shook her shoulders.
Hey, you know, I really don't like seeing Nancy getting bullied like this every day. I didn't do anything because Nancy says she didn't want to. To be honest, I even want you to leave, Mom. Can you please keep your distance from us both?
Finally, my husband made his frustration with my mother-in-law very clear. Instinctively, I said, "Please, don't worry, Mom. I really don't mind at all." I tried to follow up with that, but it seems that wasn't enough. It seemed like my mother-in-law wanted me to be hurt or sad even just a little bit. Realizing that I wasn't affected by my mother-in-law's bullying at all,
It's impossible to corner such an unreasonable daughter-in-law. How frustrating.
She burst into tears. I'm not quite sure what triggered it, but she seemed to have bought it. My mother-in-law said,
I don't care if you feel lonely without me.
With that, she stormed out of the house. Both my husband and father-in-law.
If she feels lonely, she'll come back. She won't come back.
My father-in-law spoke about my mother-in-law as if she were some stray cat or something, without even trying to chase after her. This is too much. Isn't it pitiful for her? Filled with anger, I went after my mother-in-law. But what hurt the most was that the two people I thought of as family didn't come after us.
I don't need you to accompany me.
With a grand gesture, she waved away my hand and left. It seems I unintentionally led my mother-in-law to her final destination, and thereafter she never returned home. And thus, without my realizing it, I achieved victory in my battle with my mother-in-law and brought it to a close. After that, while my husband, father-in-law, and I were living peacefully, we received a letter from my mother-in-law. Inside was a divorce paper with a bold comment.
This is the last chapter of my life as a woman. I will devote myself to the pottery teacher without regrets. It will be too late for you to regret losing me.
My husband and father-in-law burst into laughter at this, saying,
We hope she won't have any regrets in her last days.
But 3 months after the divorce, my mother-in-law suddenly came to our house and pleaded,
I've been dumped, so I want to remarry.
Getting turned down was expected, but this additional request was unexpected. My father-in-law laughed a lot and refused, saying,
I want to be free of you for the last time in my life.
After that, my mother-in-law never gave up and came to our house several times. But the results were always the same, and after about a year, she finally seemed to give up. Meanwhile, my husband and I had 2 children. The first child was a boy, but as a mother, there were many things about boys that I often didn't understand. He seemed to get into mischief from time to time, but my husband kept a close eye on him, so we managed to avoid any major incidents. Now, both my son and the daughter born afterward have grown up so well, even more responsible than me in some aspects. The whole family accompanies me on shopping trips, worrying about me. I once went out to buy milk, and for some reason came back with mackerel and bread. I forgot the milk and left. My dignity as a mother was nowhere to be found. My father-in-law also adores the children tremendously and even jokes.
Thanks for supporting Nancy's absent-mindedness.
Despite everything, we spend each day lively, bright, and joyously. Well, here I go again, giving my all to motherhood today.